Alright, so now we're going to take everything that we've learned in this Bootstrap section and put it into play and build a really simple Bootstrap theme called Strapped. So this is an example of what we'll be building. You can see that we have a nav bar up here, and this is actually inside, it's nested in the Jumbotron. Okay, I just wanted to give it kind of a different look. And you can see we have the border when we hover over the links. Our Jumbotron has a heading, a lead paragraph, and we get two buttons here. If we scroll down, you can see we have some wells. We're using the grid system. We're using glyphicons here with a heading and some text. Down here we have another section with a heading and a paragraph. Then we have split. We have two 6-column divs here. One has an image, one has some text and a list group with some icons. And then the footer is just separated into 4 3-column divs. One has an About Us, and the other ones are footer menus. Alright, so that's the home page. If we click on About, you can see that we still have a Jumbotron up here, but I made it smaller, and we took out the buttons and all that stuff and just put a page title in. Alright, then down here we have two divs here. We have one 8-column, one 4-column for the sidebar, and we're using panels here. We're using a well, and we have our footer, which is repeated throughout the site. Services, pretty similar to the About page, except we're using these JavaScript tabs. And then Contacts just has a very simple form. Alright, so it's a really easy project. I think it's nice and clean, and I think it implements most of the stuff that we've gone over. So that's what we'll be doing. If you take a look at what we're starting with, we just have a folder called Strapped. Inside that we have a CSS folder with the Bootstrap CSS file. We have our fonts folder from Bootstrap, an empty image folder, a JavaScript folder with bootstrap.js, and then an index.html. Alright, and this is what we're starting with in our HTML. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to create another style sheet as well, okay, for custom styles. So in the CSS folder, let's go ahead and create style.css. Alright, and I'm just going to close this up. And then in the index file, we'll go ahead and include that right under the Bootstrap CSS. Alright. And let's start with the Jumbotron. So we're going to say div class Jumbotron. Now, since we have Jumbotron on the home page, and then we have them on the sub pages or the inner pages, we're going to have two different classes. This one is going to be Jumbotron main, and then the ones inside will be Jumbotron sub. Okay, now we will put the nav bar in here. I'm just going to put a comment here for now. Okay, and then under that nav bar we'll have a container. And we'll put an H1 in here. Let's say multi-purpose Bootstrap theme, and then we'll have a paragraph, and let's give that a class of lead. And then I'm just going to grab some text real quick, paste that in, and then under that we'll have another paragraph which will have two buttons inside of it, or two links formatted as buttons. This will be BTN primary, and let's also make it large. Okay, so this text will say read more, and then we'll have another one next to it. This one, let's say default, and this will be contact us, and we can actually make these go to real pages. This one will say about HTML, and then this one contact.html. Alright, so let's go ahead and reload, and you can see we just got a simple Jumbotron. And now what I want to do is get the nav bar. So we're going to go to getbootstrap.com and let's go to getting started and then examples. And this starter template right here, we're going to go ahead and do a Control U so we can see the source code, and I'm going to grab this nav tag down to the ending nav tag and copy. Alright, and then we'll go into our Jumbotron and we'll place that right here. Okay, now let's see this nav class right here. You see it has navbar inverse and navbar fixed top. I'm actually going to get rid of those. Alright, and then let's see, we're going to change the project name to Strapped. And let's see, for the links, this one will be index.html. This one will be about.html. And we're going to have a services page as well. And contact will be contact.html. Alright, so let's save that and reload, and you can see we now have our nav bar. Now we're going to want to change the look of this quite a bit, so we're going to open up that style sheet, style CSS. Alright, and first thing I want to do is the buttons, I want it to be more of a purplish color, so we're going to say .btn primary, and let's set a background, and that's going to be 313461, and then the border I'm just going to make the same color. Alright, so now you can see that the button in its regular state is a purple color. Alright, now for, let's see, for the Jumbotron, there is an image that we're going to use for the background, so that should be in your files. I'm just going to grab it real quick. Okay, let's paste that in. So it should be bg.jpg. It's just a faded image of a guy on his smartphone. So generally this template would be for something like an app development company or maybe a marketing company, something like that. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to paste in the other two images that we're going to need later on. Alright, so now that we have that in there, we can go ahead and let's say Jumbotron, we'll say background 333, which is a dark gray, and then we want the URL. We're going to go // into the img folder and then bg.jpg, and also going to want to move it a little bit, so we want -400 pixels and -200 pixels. Alright, and this parenthesis should actually end back here. Alright, let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so now you can see we have the background image. We want to make the text white since it's a dark background. And we're also going to text align everything to the center. And then I just want to put a border bottom, which will be 5 pixels and light gray. Let's go ahead and reload. Okay, that looks good. The Jumbotron main, which is this, and the Jumbotron sub, which will be the inner pages, they're going to have the padding will be a little different, so we're going to go ahead and add those two classes here so we can style them separately. Okay, so we're going to have padding here. That's going to be 0 on the top. The reason I'm putting 0 is because we have the nav bar here and we don't want space above it. Okay, so 0 on the top. We'll do 60 on the left and right, and let's do 40 on the bottom. Okay, save that. and now you can see that the nav bar has now moved up. Alright, now I want to put some margin on the H1, so we're going to say, let's go right here, Jumbotron main H1, and let's see, we're going to say margin top 60 pixels, margin bottom 30 pixels. Alright, and then we're going to do the paragraph, the lead paragraph, Jumbotron p.lead. I'm going to increase the font size too to 25, and then we'll say margin bottom 60 pixels. Alright, good. So now we want to do the nav bar. So let's go right here and say nav bar. I'm going to set the margin to 0 and make sure the color is white. Okay, the links have to be white too. So nav bar A, like that, and let's reload. Alright, now notice the background is white when I hover it, and I don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and add down here nav bar A hover. Okay, we're going to set background here to none, and we're going to make that important. And let's see, we're going to add a border to the bottom, which will be white, 3 pixels solid. Now notice when I hover over it, it kind of pushes everything down. That's because when we're not hovering, there's no 3 pixel border. When we hover, there is, so it's pushing it down 3 pixels. Now there's a few things you could do to fix this. What I'm going to do is set on the navbar A, I'm going to set a margin bottom to 3 pixels, and then when we hover it, we want to set that margin bottom to 0, because the border is going to kind of replace it. So now you can see that it gives us the border but doesn't push stuff down. Alright, now I want this to be aligned on the right, so let's add, let's see, we'll go right here and we'll say navbar right, and that'll just move it over to that side. Alright, so I think that's a good place to stop. We have our navbar and our Jumbotron all set. So in the next video we'll continue on the home page and we'll start to create our boxes and so on.